Hey folks, it's Dom here, and today I thought I'd do something a bit different and go over a lore video. So, what this is I'm going to be speaking about the chosen topic, which by the title of this video you can clearly tell is the Daedric Princes, and basically just giving you rough information about them, about what they are, their origins, how they came about, what they do, etc. It's just, interesting bit of lore for those who don't really know Elder Scrolls too well, or those of you who do know it, but just want to make sure that everything you know is correct. If you do like these kind of videos, obviously, liking and subscribing massively helps me out. And if you prefer me actually doing like Oblivion or Skyrim gameplay commentary kind of videos, instead of me just having my lizard dude and having the occasional picture here and there, also let me know in the comments. But anyway, I've waffled enough, let's get on with the video. So starting off with their origins, the Daedric Princes are those of the original spirits created by Lorcan when he was creating Mundus. The difference between the Aedra and Daedra, or Aedra are also known as the Divines, the original 8 Divines, that they were the ones who helped create Mundus, while the Daedra decided to go do their own thing and created their own domains of Oblivion. The reason why they are worshipped is because they are the most powerful of all the Daedra, and like the lesser ones like Scamps and Dramoras all kind of look up to them because obviously, they are so much weaker, and they are pretty much bound to serve them because of that. There are 17 Daedric Princes, and despite them taking forms of sometimes females or males, whichever they desire, they are usually decided to be called princes and are somewhat genderless. And these 17 are Azura, Beau Ethia, Clavicus Vile, Hermaeus Mora, Hircine, Malacath, Dagon, Mephala, Meridia, Malacath, Namira, Nocturnal, Peryite, Sanguine, Vermina. And then the final two are kind of the same person of Jiggalag and Shayagorath, but I'll get onto a bit more of detail about them in a minute. Mankar Cameron also did hypothesize in the Mysterium Xerxes that Lorcan would also be a Daedric prince who observes over Tamriel as his own plane of Oblivion, but this is just a theory of Mankar Cameron, the one of the antagonists of Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, and was never confirmed, so it's not really anything that we can kind of consider as pure factual lore, but it's just something nice to have as a bit of extra information. Another thing is that all of these Daedric princes have their own realms of Oblivion, except Jiggalag, who lost his, well, I say lost his. Jiggalag is Shayagorath. Jiggalag was one of the most powerful Daedric princes as the Daedric Prince of Order, and his kind of powers were taken away by the other Daedra when they started to fear him, and they turned him into his worst fear as a Daedric Prince of Order. They turned him into a man of pure chaos. So the original realm of Jiggalags is just something that, again, we'll get onto later when we cover Jiggalag and Shayagorath in more detail, but it's an interesting mix. There are also several different planes of Oblivion which none of the Daedra rule over, so like for instance the Soul Cairn in Skyrim, but they do have their own planes, and sometimes they do have multiple or kind of different areas like Sanguine. And the Daedric Princes see all the races as kind of minor amusements, and they do get interested when they do these large feats which exceed their expectations, but they don't really seem to care too much. They also don't really have any kind of moral compass inside their head, so ideas of good and evil don't really make sense to them, hence leading to kind of extremist tendencies towards one direction, and kind of really being melodramatic in one emotion. Hence the reason they're kind of noticed, say, for like Jiggalag, Order, Shayagorath, Chaos. It's when they are noticed for those things, it's because that's what they show off the most, as they don't really know what emotions are like. However, there are several different Daedric princes which love the pleasure of just tremendous acts of devastation. Examples of these would be Beau Ethia, Malacath, Vermina, Dagon, and Peryite. Through playing Elder Scrolls games, you may have noticed that there are several different shrines to each Daedric prince scattered throughout Tamriel, and it is speculated whether these are kept mainly as just kind of ego boosts for the Daedric princes, or if it's the fact that the Daedra are looking for kind of mortals, which could be really interesting puppets to play about with, or just watch what they do in life, to be honest. Again, there's a bit of speculation here and there, but Mostly whatever they try and get their subjects to do at these shrines is just for the entertainment of the Daedra. So the first of these Daedric princes to analyse in detail is Azura, the Daedric prince of dusk and dawn, night and day, light and dark. She's also considered one of the Daedric princes who is actually kind of good in the eyes of mortals, especially when compared to some of the others like Beau. Her own plane of Oblivion is the Moon Shadow, a realm which is known to be absolutely beautiful, so beautiful that mortals aren't even able to comprehend it properly. And her main Daedra are winged twilights, which kind of work as her messengers. Another nice little bit of lore about Azura was that she was the one who told the Nerevar that Dagoth knowledge of the heart of Lorcan was accurate, and it caused a war between the Dwemer and the Chimer, but that's going back long, long into the past, in about the wars between the Dwemer and the Chimer and the creation of the Dunmer. And Azura also had a big part to play in the story of Morrowind. If you haven't played Morrowind, obviously there's all this stuff about the Tribunal and Dagoth and the Heart of Lorcan, and your character kind of being the reincarnation of Nerevar. The next Daedric prince is Beau Ethia, the prince of plots who rules over deceit, conspiracy, secret plots of murder, assassination, treason, and other unlawful overthrows of authority. Basically, Beau Ethia is one who would pretty much get off to regicide and stuff like that. They're also known for being one of the god ancestors of the Dunmer, and told them to renounce all their ties to the High Elves and go kind of start their own life in Morrowind. Hence the reason Dark Elves might worship them quite a lot, and you may see a lot of Dark Elves by their shrines. Leading on to the next Daedra is Clavicus Vile, the Daedric prince all about kind of granting power and wishes through rituals and pacts. Clavicus Vile is rarely seen without Barbas, his kind of dog companion, who has a part of the being of Vile inside, and they kind of work together, even though they do have a mixed relationship with each other, to say the least. His Daedric realm is called the Fields of Regret, and it appears as this idyllic countryside which is filled with merchant utopias and fields of white clovers. So it's quite a nice looking place to the average person, and probably one of the nicer looking Daedric realms. The next Daedra we're going to cover is Hermaeus Mora, who is the Daedric Prince of Knowledge, and made a heavy appearance in the Dragonborn DLC for Skyrim, hence the reason quite a lot of people might know them quite well, as he helped Miraak stay alive, the original Dragonborn, and you obviously in Skyrim take him down, also with the help of Hermaeus Mora, then taking the mantle of Hermaeus Mora as kind of champion of the people, or not people, of Hermaeus Mora. But his Daedric realm is Apocrypha, which is an endless library with forbidden knowledge, which obviously a lot of people who want to know stuff would probably want to try and get to, but it's very heavily guarded. The next Daedric prince is Hircine, the Daedric Prince of the Hunt, probably one of my favourite ones, and is very heavily related to lycanthropy, or, for those who don't know what that means, becoming a werewolf. He is usually kind of depicted as a man with a kind of elk or deer head and a wolf companion, and he has several aspects which have been seen throughout the Blood Moon DLC in Morrowind, and he also obviously has his shrines in the other games. His Daedric realm is called the Hunting Grounds, and it's basically a place for kind of predators and wolves, or his chosen people who are like werewolves and stuff like that, to kind of go and endlessly hunt kind of weaker creatures for the rest of their lives. We'll now move on to Malacath, who is the Daedric Prince, who is the Keeper of the Sworn Oath and the Bloodied Curse. He's kind of very heavily relevant in Orcish lore, hence the reason he's got a lot of Orcish worshippers, and some Dunmers as well. He was created when Beau Ethia ate the Aedra Trinimac, which is some sort of deity, and turned the Dunmer worshippers of Beau Ethia, or Malacath, into orcs, and it's kind of their origins in the world. His Daedric realm is the Ash Pit, which is known as a harsh place consisting of only dust and palaces of smoke, with several vaporous creatures. We'll now move on to one of the most commonly known Daedric princes, and that's Mehrunes Dagon, the Prince of Destruction, Change, Revolution, Energy, and Ambition. He has a very large spite towards the species of Nirn, and has invaded during the end of the Third Era, which is the kind of whole story of Oblivion, but he's also kind of appeared several times throughout the Elder Scrolls series. His Daedric realms of Oblivion are known as the Deadlands, which is a place of high levels of torture to mortals, and is meant to be somewhere where he can bring people and just make them regret being a thing. His Daedric artifact is the Memrun's Razor, a very sharp weapon which is enchanted to very rarely, but sometimes instantly kill whoever it hits, which is obviously, you know, quite powerful. We'll also now move on to Mephala, who is also known as the Web Spinner, or kind of very highly relevant to spiders for whatever reason, and is also associated with sex, which is, you know, a bit cool, something everyone I'm sure wanted to know. And her realm is the Spiral Skein, or Skein, I'm not really too sure, it's spelled S-K-E-I-N. You can kind of tell me how you meant to say that. But again, there's a lot of torture there as well. Spider Daedras are kind of the one which are most related to her. And the Morag Tong, a group of assassins in Morrowind, heavily kind of worship her and follow her on what she does. There's also Meridia, another Daedric prince, who is kind of one that absolutely despises the undead. And her realm is the Coloured Rooms, which is kind of related to the Aurorans, which appear in the Knights of the Nine DLC, and was a patron of Umaril and other Aeliads back in the day. We're now going to move on to Molag Bal, the most prominent Daedra, not Danger, well I guess it is also Danger, in the Elder Scrolls Online, who is the Daedric Prince of enslavement, domination, and just basically messing up mortals' days. His realm is Cold Harbour, this twisted, dark imagination of Tamriel, which he's distorted to kind of bring fear to those he brings to that world. He has several other different kind of titles, which I'm not going to go into because I think they will get me demonetized, but he absolutely despises Beau Ethia, and they have this kind of rivalry. There's also kind of this reputation behind Molag Bal as the man who created vampires, as you can learn a bit about in the Dawnguard DLC, as, what was it, Sorona and her family were part of the original Daughters of Cold Harbour. We're now going to move on to Namira, who is known as the Daedric Prince of Ancient Darkness, and is considered related to things which are repulsive and kind of ugly, like kind of slugs and some diseases, but that's more Peryite's thing, to be honest, all about diseases, which again we'll get into in a minute. Her realm is the Scuttling Void, which is not really got too much actually known about, but yeah, all that she is also related to is a lot of cannibalism, as she likes to kind of just have her followers consume others. Next is Nocturnal, the Daedric Prince of Night and Darkness, and is heavily worshipped by the Nightingales and has relations to the Thieves Guild, especially because of her main Daedric artifact being the Skeleton Key, which can obviously open pretty much any door when its magical power works. She also had another artifact, which was the Grey Cowl of Nocturnal, which the Grey Fox stole from her, but it was cursed because, well, you know, he stole from a Daedric prince, so it pretty much went bad for them. And her Daedric realm is the Evergloam, which has a form of permanent conduit between Mundus and Oblivion, known as the Twilight Sepulchre, which you go at the end of the Thieves Guild quest in Skyrim, and you kind of get to see her in person, in a physical form. Moving on to Peryite, he is the Daedric Prince of Pestilence and Diseases, and he's often depicted as a green dragon. His realm is the Pits, which is a kind of lowest orders of Oblivion where not really much is there. But he's also considered one of the weaker Daedric princes, as, well, disease is something that affects others, but others can get around it. But he's an interesting one for sure, and in fact in Oblivion when you meet him, all of his followers try to kind of physically meet him, but ended up getting themselves trapped in his Oblivion realm, which you have to go and save them from. There's also Sanguine, which is the Daedric Prince of Revelry, Debauchery, and pretty much the Prank Master. Most of the time he just wants you to do something either to embarrass yourself or others, usually both to be honest. And he rules over the myriad realms of Revelry, which are basically players where he can allow his people who come in to just make up their own imagination of a nice place to be. And it's pretty much like a kind of party realm. There's also Vermina, who is the Daedric Prince of Dreams and Nightmares, and has the Oblivion realm of Quagmire, which is kind of depicted as this massive nightmare beyond horrifying. And she's quite a dark Daedric Prince, who is associated with the Skull of Corruption, which can kind of manipulate people, as you may have noticed in the Skyrim quest when she tries to manipulate you to stop that Priest of Arche from cleansing the location. The final Daedric Prince is Shayagorath and sort of Jiggalag, who was originally Jiggalag and, as I formerly mentioned, was growing so powerful the other Daedric Princes cursed him to become the thing he feared the most, Shayagorath, a Daedric Prince of Madness who ruled the Shivering Isles. And in the third era, the hero of Kvatch, or your character, comes along and pretty much defeats Jiggalag, breaking the curse, allowing Jiggalag to be freed but banished to some different part of Oblivion where not really much is told on what happens afterwards, and it's believed that the champion of Cyrodiil actually becomes Shayagorath, but who knows, it could be something else a bit weird and wacky. But the fact that it makes them two different princes with separate entities means that there is 17 full Daedric Princes. And that's pretty much all there is I've got to say on Daedric Princes. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It did get a bit waffly by the end and a bit just going through them all, but if you guys do want to see more of these lore videos, let me know in the comments. And other than that, I'll see you next time.